I mean, it does look a little slow.
Yeah.
No,
I don't.
nope. Okay.
1, 2. There I am. Hola. Hola, hola, mi gente. Buen día, familia. Our Universalist heritage proposed that each person is made of divine goodness. Science offers that we just might be stardust. Whatever your beliefs, know that you are a gift, inherently worthy of love, and I'm so glad that you're here. Love is the spirit of all souls. In this moment of our shared journey, may you feel witnessed and honored wherever you are on that journey. I invite you now to please rise, embody your spirit to greet your neighbor, especially new or returning folks, and I encourage you to introduce yourself with your pronouns. Hi, Austin. Did Annie catch you? Did Annie catch you about joys and sorrows? Okay. Okay, perfect. Which I thought. Looks good, Helen. Helen? I think we're fine. If you want to play? Yeah. Hi, Ollie. 10 o'clock comes quickly, doesn't it? 10 o'clock comes quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, and we work 10 outside. So.
Yeah.
Inside work covered, so.
Excellent. Thank you, Ollie. I appreciate it.
What makes you a true you? Love at the core of what you do. We commit to work as a team to make our values more than a dream. Jet Pig helps us keep in mind 6 values that you have defined. Justice means we make things fair. We vote, speak up, and act with care. Equity is when everyone gets what they need for work and fun. Transformation means we change, and we still grow at every age. What makes you a true you? Love at the core of what you do. We commit to work as a team to make our values more than a dream. Jet Pig helps us keep in mind 6 values that you have defined. Pluralism is how we say we know there's not just one right way. Interdependence means we're connected, so our earth and its people are respected. Generosity is the last we can learn to share before we're asked. What makes you a true you? Love at the core of what you do. We commit to work as a team to make our values more than a dream. Jet Pig helps us keep in mind 6 values that you have defined. That was Jet Pig.
From playing with the music team over here to be a worship associate. Thank you, Austin.
So, good morning and welcome to all who are with us in the moment and to those who are catching us later on. I'm Austin Mitchell. I use he, him pronouns, and I will be serving as worship associate for today's service, together with Nancy Olson, acting director of Faith Formation, Reverend Katie Romano Griffin, our senior minister, both of whom use she, her, or ella pronouns, and Gabe Perbieri, music director, who uses he, him pronouns. We are your worship team on the chancel today. People of all ages are joyfully welcome in service, and nursery care is available if that option works best for you. I invite everyone to please complete a connection card, either on paper in the pews or via the QR code available at the sanctuary entrance. This form is a great way to let us know if you would like support, need assistance, have new contact information, or have an interest, comment, or question. Our Soul Matters theme this month is pluralism. Sign up for In the Know to get the packet so you can engage with the materials at home or at All Souls in person and online.
Thank you so much, Austin. If you were here yesterday as a participant or a volunteer for the meeting of the 4 area UU congregations, can you please identify yourself with a hand raise or rise in body or spirit? Thank you. I just want to give you a round of applause. Thank you so much. 38 of us were here, and there were over 60 people in this room to talk about the past, our history, and the future of Unitarian Universalism. It was incredible. It was incredible. There's more work to be done, which is good. We get to do more work on the future next time we gather, because we've done a bunch of work on the past. Now we get to look at ways that we can strengthen Unitarian Universalism. It was incredibly exciting. I invite you all to join Nancy and I at 11:30 to talk about Article 2. If you're interested in attending this, if you could just give me a quick show of hands, because that'll determine what room we use. Okay. I think we're still going to be okay in the library. If we find out that we're too big for the library, we can come in here or meet in Harris Hall. But let's go ahead and plan on the library. We have a board meeting tomorrow in person in the Beatty Room at 6:30. I hope that you can make it. We're certainly, as part of our meeting, going to be talking about updates and things that we're thinking about as leadership that is an outgrowth of the conversation and visioning we did at our last town hall. And lots of other great things are discussed at board meetings, so please come if you can. It is the 3rd Sunday, so you're invited to walk the labyrinth, which is set up in the atrium. I want to shout out to Glenn and Nolan, who are back today. We're so glad you're here. Thank you, Liz, our steady on piano. And I have a quick fun story for you. I met with a colleague I went to seminary with. She's the senior minister of Evanston, and she saw on my Zoom background is our sanctuary, and she got really misty-eyed when she saw our covenant. And she said, you know, in the late 1800s, James Villa Blake was our minister, and he wrote that covenant for us. And we still say it. So our sibling congregation in Evanston, look, they say the same thing we do on Sundays, and it is inherently tied to their history. So I just thought that was a beautiful thing to share with you all. As we begin our time together, let us also acknowledge the land itself and those who've sustained it throughout the generations. We are upon the unceded land of the Lenape, Miamia, Kaskaskia, Shawnee, and Kickapoo people who were pushed from their land and whose children have been stolen for generations. As we strive to be a community of justice, may we continue to find ways to make reparations. We give to you the words of Gordon McKeown. Ministry is a quality of relationship between and among human beings that beckons forth hidden possibilities.
Inviting people into deeper, more constant, more reverent relationship with the world and with one another.
Carrying forward a long heritage of hope and liberation that has dignified and informed the human venture over many centuries.
Being present with, to, and for others,
in their terrors and torments, in their griefs, misery, and pain, knowing that those feelings are our feelings too.
Celebrating the triumphs of the human spirit, the miracles of birth and life, the wonders of devotion and sacrifice, witnessing to life, enhancing values, speaking truth to power.
Speaking for human dignity and equity, for compassion and aspiration, believing in life in the presence of death, struggling for human responsibility against principalities and structures that ignore humaneness and become instruments of death.
It is all these and so much more than all of them, present in the wordless, the unspoken, the ineffable.
It is speaking and living the highest we know, and living with the knowledge that it is never as deep or as wide or as high as we wish.
Whenever there is a meeting that summons us to our better selves, wherever our lostness is found,
our fragments are united,
our words begin healing,
our spines stiffen, and
our muscles grow strong for the task. There is ministry, is all that we do together.
Thank you. Good morning. I love those opening words. And this morning, I've been thinking about the freshness of spring. I've been thinking about how nature gives us that imagery of new beginnings and, of beginning again, of those fresh starts that come out of what has been. And I just can't help thinking about yesterday. And I was with the children, but every time I came into Harris Hall, I saw these 4 congregations together, and the energy there was palpable. There was a lot of possibilities and potential energy evident. And I also see this in this progress that we're making with Article 2. This new way of looking at our principles and our purposes and shaping them for what is new and having a new beginning. So I invite you to please rise in body or spirit as we recite these adapted words that we have now learned. I'll go back to the Evanston Church, but we have been saying them since 1903, along with our new Spanish, which was added this year, that we are saying those. And I invite you to join me in, this time maybe infusing those words with a little bit of this freshness of spring, this possibilities, this newness that we're bringing to our time together. So we will speak in Spanish first. Amor es el espíritu de este servicio es su ley. Vivir juntos en la paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos unos a otros. Este es nuestro pacto. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. And yes, as we sing hymn.
Together, hymn number 1058. Be Ours a Religion, and we'll sing it 2 times.
Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love.
be seated. Many years ago, I was a youth advisor, and when I was a youth advisor, I learned a story that happened to one of our youth. We were, at that time, living in a space which most of the folks around us, it was predominantly an evangelical Christian kind of larger community religious landscape. And this little person was being picked on in school constantly because of his faith. And he just kept trying to explain what Unitarian Universalism was. And one particular day, he was really getting picked on. And this little girl jumped in front of him and said, "Leave him alone. He's an Egyptian vegetarian." She couldn't remember Unitarian Universalist. Those are big words to have to string together. The wisdom of the folks that said, we are All Souls Indie. Like when we did the rebrand, saying All Souls Indie is so much more approachable to folks who've never heard about Unitarian Universalism. When we get people in the door, we can explain it, but outside of here, it's a really long name, and I'm not really sure what it is. And I wonder if I asked you to tell me what Unitarian Universalists believe, if you could answer the question without saying what we don't believe first. Many years ago, I asked my nieces and my nephew if they could explain Unitarian Universalism to me, and this might be hard to believe, but my nieces have a lot of energy. Even back then. And they were all dancers, even my nephew. And, there's my sweet little mini-me. Her name is Katie, too. So I said, can you explain it? And they were like, "Oh, yeah." And then they started to do this. And then they sang this: "Each person is important, be kind in all you do. We're free to learn together and search for what is true." And they went on and did the whole 7 principles. It was awesome. They're like, so when people ask us, we sing the song. And I thought, oh, that's good. That's good. And I tried that as an elevator pitch for a while. It definitely got people's attention. And then when I was in seminary, I met up with the now Reverend Dr. Tracy Barrett. She just got her doctorate this weekend. Yes, I'm so proud of her. And she said, I can do this in just a few words. God is love, God is one. And that speaks to our heritage. Prior to our humanist influence in the early 1900s and the stark rise of humanism, which is a very important time in our history, particularly after World War II. But it talks about the Universalist faith that said that they believed that something larger was founded in love, and that our Unitarian folks believed that there was one God, and they rejected the notion of the Trinity. So that's an important historical way. And then I thought, well, maybe in conversation with Dorian, our coordinator for membership and communications, well, maybe we could hear from some of you. So I'd like to invite Peg and Ollie from the membership team to share their elevator pitches as you think about your own. Hi, Ollie.
Hi. My pronouns are he, him. And this elevator speech, I tried to write to coincide with our 8th floor elevator in our condo, and I had to make the round trip. But I use pieces of it all the time, in one way or another, so it's a good one. So, have you discovered All Souls Indie? It's a diverse community of seekers and families who covenant to values of love and service, finding their truth, and working together for justice and growth. We call ourselves a Unitarian Universalist church, but we don't follow any one dogma. Some of us come from Christian backgrounds and others from Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, pagan, even agnostic and atheist beliefs. We encourage personal journey towards faith formation by providing resources in worship, meditation, study, activities, and fellowship. We are a welcoming congregation for LGBTQ+ and are certified as a green congregation. If you're interested in anything I've said, visit us Sundays at 10 for worship, fellowship, and activities at 5805 East 56th Street, or learn more at allsoulsindy.org. Any questions? Thanks for your attention.
I love it.
Hi, I'm Peg Paulson, pronouns she, her. I've been trying to hone a good elevator speech for UUs since I started visiting this place in '87, and it's still a continuous process. But here's what I came up with. I'm a Unitarian Universalist. We use UU for short. I go to All Souls Unitarian Church on the east side of Indy. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religion where we practice 8 shared principles instead of a creed, and within the framework of those principles, we encourage individual spiritual growth. I really like that. Examples of the principles include the inherent worth and dignity of every person and a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, for example. We welcome people from all religious backgrounds and spiritual identities. We commit to be LGBTQ+ welcoming, to be green and eco-sustainable, and to dismantle systems of oppression, including our own. Our services are joyful, profound, and full of music and poetry. I love my church. It's my source of reflection, study, and nourishment for living a moral, meaningful life. Our Reverend Katie is the most special, skilled minister I've ever known, and the people are amazing, smart, supportive, ethical, funny, and committed to changing the world for the greater good.
Nice. Thank you, Peg and Ollie. I feel like I want to give you t-shirts with QR codes, and you can just walk around and give your speeches everywhere. Everyone is invited to rise and body your spirit. The words of our Jet Pig song are in your order of celebration. You know, we're going to make some joyful noise together. We've got song leaders. We'll match pitch. It's going to be great.
Song. The word dramatic. If you do dramatic readings, this is the song for you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Okay, now it's going to be the 3rd time that we are doing the song.
It's
We
for
did
real,
last
man.
week. Today, I'm pretty sure you can already sing with us at least the refrain. So let's start with the refrain.
What makes you a true you? Love at the core of what you do. We commit to work as a team to make our values more than a dream. Jetpig helps us keep in mind 6 values that you have defined.
Okay, very good. Now we're going to sing the same thing again without the microphone so we can hear you guys really well, okay?
Oh. What makes you a true you? Love at the core of what you do. We commit to work as our team.
Okay. That's okay.
Am I live? There we go.
Yes, you are. Okay, verse number 1.
Justice means we make things fair. We both speak up and act with care. Equity is when everyone gets what they need for work and fun. Transformation means we change, and we can still grow at every age. do. We commit to work as a team to make our values more than a dream. JetPig helps us keep in mind 6 values that UUs have defined.
Verse number 2.
Pluralism is how we say we know there's not just one right way. Interdependence means we're connected, so our earth and its people are respected. Generosity is the last we can learn to share before we're asked.
And refrain again.
What makes you a true you? Love at the core of what you do. We commit to work as a team to make our values more than a dream. JetPig helps us keep in mind 6 values that UUs have defined.
One last time, the refrain.
What makes you a true you? Love at the core of what you do. We commit to work as a team to make our values more than a dream. JetPig helps us keep in mind 6 values that UUs have defined.
Wow, you all sing so wonderfully. Please join me. Everybody should be in the choir. Please join me in taking a few moments to note that which is currently bringing joy or sorrow to our community. Today, we celebrate with the Boland family. Wes is now Dr. Wes Boland. We have a lot of joys today, so we're going to be doing a lot of that. We also celebrate with Ben Rayhill, who just graduated college, and Teddy Rayhill, who just had a birthday and is a high school graduate. Everyone is invited to their graduation open house at the Rayhills' home. The details are in the know, and if you need the address, you can just email Annie. We're also celebrating with Alan Maurice and Elaine Mancini, who are with Zach this weekend as he graduates with his master's for Georgetown. And we celebrate with Carol Kirk, who is still playing solos at Magnolia Springs. Carol would love for some All Souls friends to visit and say hello and maybe sing a hymn or two. And let us hold a moment of silence together for the joys and sorrows in our hearts that are yet unnamed. Thank you. And now please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 1060, As We Sing of Hope and Joy.
As we sing of hope and joy today, somehow only anguish and despair. How can we lift our voices in this way while some have pain and misery to spare? If a crumbling world we would renew,
who will now share with you some words by the Reverend Erica Hewitt. In 1637, the white settlers in what was to become the town of Dedham, Massachusetts, wanted to start a church. What they longed for was sincere religious association based in love and founded in freedom.
The idea of a free church took shape among the people, a church whose individual congregations were controlled by no outside authority, a radically lay-led church gathered by mutual consent rather than by mutual belief, founded in covenant rather than creed, and governed by the congregation itself.
10 years later, this basis for gathering and governing was described in the Cambridge Platform, which remains a defining document for the people of faith, including Unitarian Universalists, who continue to practice congregational polity.
So the Cambridge Platform was published in its completed state in 1648. Booyah! The Cambridge Platform preface begins, "The more we discern the unbrotherly and unchristian contentions of our godly brethren and countrymen, the more earnestly do we desire to see them joined together in one common faith." How many times did they say God and men in that? The Cambridge Platform's language is sorely dated to our 2024 year and to our 2024 Unitarian Universalism. Truthfully, we do not embrace many of the notions that our religious ancestors did. As a living faith, we are continuously called to expand based on science and experience. We must rely much less over time on scripture and more on science and social sciences and social relationships and social justice movements. However, vestiges of the Cambridge Platform remain with us in our polity or our governance structure. And it's important to remember that some of the main parts of our polity, which is the way in which we govern ourselves, we should talk about and honor. Here is a more modern shakedown of the Cambridge Platform. Our churches are both autonomous and also connected by covenant. We still operate in a free association. That means we willingly join the Unitarian Universalist Association. We are responsible for each other's welfare as a covenantal faith structure. So that means we are responsible to the people in the pews beside us, to our friends online, but we are also covenantally responsible to other congregations within this free association of congregations. Our meeting together yesterday with the 4 area UU congregations was an example of what our religious ancestors had in mind about getting together, sharing resources, and strengthening our faith in an accountable covenantal way. And the line item that says annual program fund in our budget is monies that we pay to support all congregations, including ourselves. And the annual program fund fees pay for experts like the Reverend Sharon Dittmar from the Mid-America region to come here and be with the 4 congregations. They also create incredible resources at the UUA for use to congregations so that the things we can't afford as individual congregations, collectively we can come together and make real. We also charge the Unitarian Universalist Association to have staff in place that can keep our history and that can gather us together at regular intervals so that we can continue to vote as a free association of congregations on what we believe. 3, we consult with other congregations. C number 2. 4, we allow members to attend other churches. Did you know that? you can go to any other UU congregation you want. You can even be a member of more than one. I served in Florida. You know how many of the folks in Florida are members of congregations? If you're on the west coast of Florida, they're usually members of Midwest congregations. If you're on the East Coast, they're usually members of like New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts congregations. That's usually how it breaks down. Number 5, churches agree to share resources and support each other. See number 2. Historically, Unitarians and Universalists have embraced this way of being. And the American Baptists actually have a similar structure. We are cousins, also like the United Church of Christ. We are all congregational cousins. Someday I'll talk about the Dedham decision in which we got the silver. But that's a tale for another time. Unitarians and Universalists both embraced democracy in our structure. And if you ever go to the American Portrait Gallery in DC, you're going to wish you had a little sticker that said Unitarian, Unitarian, Universalist, Universalist, because a lot of our religious ancestors, for better or for worse, were leaders of this country. So today, member congregations of our free association pay a portion of fees, as I mentioned, to the UUA so we can provide that support and resources and also benefit from other people paying into the annual program fund. There's grants and all kinds of greatness that is shared within congregations to strengthen Unitarian Universalism in ways that we can't do on our own. Now, back in the day, they would even share ministers. So, you know why some of those ministers' speeches were like hour and a half long, people like Emerson, besides the fact that they liked the sound of their own voice? They just had to do one. And then they would travel around to the different Unitarian or Universalist congregations, giving the same sermon over and over until they made their way home. Because there was no way to afford professional ministry in the individual congregations. Now, as part of how we gather as modern UUs, we have bylaws that are written and held by the UUA, and they are living, just like our bylaws here in our community, which, hello, shout out to the governance committee here at All Souls. It's not easy work. Now, within our UUA bylaws, there's a section called Article 2, which has to be reviewed every 15 years. If you open our gray hymnals, within the first couple of pages, you'll see our 7 principles and our 6 sources. That's a place where they live in our hymnals, but they live in this document. Now, the 8th principle, which was certified by more than 250 congregations, we haven't actually done that here. We've embraced it socially, but we didn't vote for the 8th principle, so I'm just putting that out there. But that's where the 8th principle would live if it had been approved. But Paula Cole-Jones, who really started the 8th principle movement and has been fighting for the 8th principle for more than 20 years, joined the Article 2 revision committee and has been working on what we now abbreviate as JETPIG, kind of infusing the 8th principle into that. Now, the 8th principle, which is in our sanctuary, thank you to Phil Soper for making sure our principles were all in the sanctuary, really talks about dismantling systems of oppression within ourselves and others and wherever we find them. But it is baked into JETPIG. This has been a multi-year process, and thousands of Unitarian Universalists were surveyed. I've talked to the congregation in my short time here about Article 2 multiple times over time. Not enough, though, because some folks are still surprised about it, and that's okay if you're still surprised. Please don't feel badly about that, because what I'm learning is, especially is if something is new, we need to talk about it more. And sometimes, even though I think I've talked about it a lot, that might not necessarily be true because not everyone can come or watch every Sunday, and not everyone reads the whole e-news. That's okay. So we just need to talk about things a little bit more, and I promise you I'm going to do better on new things as we go forward. But Article 2 was this really long process, and last year we voted as a General Assembly, so leaders of individual congregations, their board said, yes, we certify you to vote on behalf of the congregation. Those folks gathered at General Assembly in June, everyone together, and enough people voted to say, yes, let's go forward with another year for a final vote on this Article 2 change in 2024. Part of our work is to inform the congregation about Article 2 so that our delegates this year know how to vote. They need to know how you feel about it, because we don't just want delegates to vote however they feel. We represent the congregation. Now, as a minister, I am required to hold space on behalf of the faith. I am the keeper of the larger theology, and you're a resident theologian. So I have a place of holding responsibility to you all, but also holding the responsibility of the larger faith. So if I know the larger faith needs to move to a place that we're just not ready to go yet, I'm going to have to vote for the larger faith while also committing to still be with us all until we're ready to get there. And that's what I signed up for. You'll also notice this year, if you're attending General Assembly, that I will be one of the speakers putting forward an action of immediate witness demanding an immediate ceasefire and protecting Palestinians in solidarity with Palestinians. Thank you. We are also demanding the release of all hostages in the AIW. I just want to make that clear. And also, not everyone in the congregation is feeling really good or sure what to do about Palestine. And I recognize that where I am and where I feel our faith needs to be is in a little bit of a different place than us. So the work we do inside the congregation is going to look a lot different than the work that I'm called to do in the larger faith. But both of those things can exist, and even if we disagree, I love you, and I am in this work of doing this covenantal work together, and let's stay in conversation. It's what I'm here to do. So the UU World published an article by Warren Ross in 2000 talking about the original statement and purpose of the Unitarian Universalist Association, which we merged as Universalist and Unitarian in the 1960s, when the Universalist Church of America and the AUA, or American Unitarian Association, who gave the original funds in the late 1800s to start us off so we could be a thing, All Souls Unitarian, in 1903. The statements, he says, the statement's precise wording has been a matter of such heated debate that it nearly derailed the merger at the concurrent but separate preparatory sessions of the two denominations, and what we fought over was love to God and love to man, and a reference to our Judeo-Christian heritage. And that is important because in the 60s, I talked earlier about the rise of humanism in our faith, particularly post-World War II and in the Unitarian portion of our ancestry. So this is where we almost derailed. We talk about like the war sometimes between the theists and the atheists in UU congregations, and this is a place where the tension almost derailed us being together as one. But we worked it out, and we continue to figure out ways forward. So some changes were made, semicolons were likely added, and we stuck with that until 1984. When the next iteration was adopted unanimously. And I talked about the movement of the eighth principle and how 250 congregations have adopted it. Rev. Nell Newton was here just about a month ago talking about Article 2. And now what we have is this model, which Helen, if you are comfortable doing so, if you would share your t-shirt a little bit. Helen Dwyer designed her own t-shirt with permission from the UUA, and she's got all of JetPig there. So thank you, Helen, for doing that. Good job, Helen. And that design was done by a colleague and lives at the UUA, but Helen just sort of changed things out so it spells JetPig a little better. But in the center is love. And there's an African-American historian called Charles Long who talks about the ultimate orientation, knowing your ultimate orientation as a way to do theology. And all of us do theology. You do not have to believe in a God or a deity in order to do theological work. As Unitarian Universalists, we do something called constructive theology. And what Article 2 in its new iteration gives us is a way to talk about our theology in that elevator. Sometimes what people will say to us is, all right, so you don't have a creed. What do you actually believe? Or what about sin? I get that one a lot. I mean, I don't know if it's a minister thing, but maybe you all get this in the elevator too. And some of my colleagues will even say, oh yeah, you Unitarians are soft on sin. And it's like, we're not. Sin to us, translated, sin, if you translate it, is missing the mark. But what's important is the process of reconciliation and accountability. So if love is our ultimate orientation, if we miss the mark on love, we need to utilize our values to get back into alignment with love. And here is the humility of Unitarian Universalism. Article 2, in its new iteration, reminds us that we cannot get back to love on our own. You cannot, one of my mentors, she's a unity minister, says, you cannot solve a problem at the level of thought with which it was created. It's wise. So, if, because of who we are, we have anti-Blackness baked into our system, whether that is internalized for those of us who are people of color, or whether it is white-bodied folks, we cannot get back to love with our level of programming. But if we engage our values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, if we reach into our larger network and utilize our values over time, notice this is not an instant process, we will get back to love and we will be transformed. And that is how we save ourselves and each other. And that is how we transform systems along the way. That is where our eighth principle is living in dismantling systems of oppression within ourselves and within larger communities. We activate our values to get back to love through community. Decajon, which means like hands down. Mic drop. Translation, mic drop. It is hard work. It is hard work that requires deep covenantal accountability. And we might find come June that after all of these years of exploration as a free association, we are not yet ready to embrace JetPig. That might happen. And the day after that vote, I will immediately ask if we can do work to officially vote for the eighth principle in this congregation, so we can live into it more fully. Or maybe someone here will make the suggestion. I'd like that too. I like that even better. We should be ready for that outcome. So those of us who are really excited about Article 2, Please be ready for this. Article 2 is a point on a wave, whether we vote yes or no. It is a part of us living into our values and doing the work of trying to expand our faith. And one of the things that we have to trust is the conversations themselves move us forward. But something that I will stand firm on is that some of us are sick and tired of waiting to be acknowledged as human beings. So that we will not compromise on in this community or outside of this community. And we can do that in other ways. We can still do that work. So, if Article 2 does pass, some of us are going to grieve too. There's going to be grieving either way here. But here's what I can promise you. It's not like a light switch. It's not like someone's going to go and scrape off the 7 principles from all of our things. We're not going to blot them out of our hymnals. It's going to be it's going to be a process. You can still sing in the elevator. Because it's still going to tell people what we're about. And we'll learn to put the models side by side. And then we'll learn to just go forward. Or we'll still talk about both for another 20 years until the next model comes out in 15 or 30 years. And it's going to be okay. We're a living faith. That means we consistently have to crack things open. So when we know better, we can do better. And we're going to continue to vote on it. So some critics of Article 2 will say, the UUA is making us do things. Friends, that's jelly. You know, I talk about the jelly donut. When there's pressure on the donut, the jelly goes out sideways. That jelly is somebody is hurting. But the truth is, the UUA can't make us do anything. I can't make you do anything. Did you know that? That's not what ministers are supposed to do. We are resident theologians. We are here to help you do the deeper theological work that you are called to do and to work together as a community for your enrichment and the enrichment of the communities that we're in. Right? We're not the boss. That's why you'll notice we do more and more collaborative services with multiple voices from within the community. That was actually always meant to be our model, not ministers talking into the congregation for hours about rich concepts, but helping you to live into those concepts and share them with each other. So please be with that. Please know that we are and this is a historical quote, we are a prophethood of all believers. The people hold the power. No minister, no organization is ever the boss of us. But those structures are in place to call us all into accountability and into a better way of being. And they invite us to do that theological work together. This is exciting, or as exciting as Polity and our purpose can get. So I'm open to deep conversations about this. We are having an Article 2 conversation today at 11:30, and if you need a one-on-one with me, reach out to me about that too. I am happy to chat. We are in this work together, and frankly, I could not be more thrilled, more grateful, or more honored to serve as your minister. Que así sea. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Katie. So, this week, we are sharing our offering plate with UUA Side with Love, an advocacy campaign sponsored by the UUA. To contribute, you can give cash or check in the collection plate, or visit allsoulsindy.org and click Give to All Souls here under today's service description. When giving online or by check, please specify if it is for a pledge or share the plate. Okay, now remember your JEDPIG. Your generosity promotes equity and reaffirms interdependence, as Side with Love brings about transformation of our society, promoting justice, which is guided by pluralism. The morning offering may now be given and gratefully received.
was awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, Charlie. That was your stress test for today. You passed with flying colors. The Reverend Sharon Dittmar gave a shout out yesterday in our meeting and said, she mentioned my background in PR and marketing and said, gosh, I'm going to consult with Reverend Katie sometime because your communications to the congregation are so great. You can tell that you have this background in communications. And I said, I appreciate that, but I have to say, we work together as a shared ministry team to write those communications. So while some communications do come solely from me sometimes, the reality is 99.999% I'm writing with Jean and Julia, and sometimes with the whole board. It is shared ministry that we do here, and a lot of eyes are on our ministry because we hold tensions really well together as in shared ministry of maybe where I am or where the larger movement is and where we are as individuals in a congregation, and we talk about hard things really well together. And we are creating new things that might not otherwise come into being because we can live into those tensions. And that is getting people really interested in us and our ministry. So I offer you these words as you go into your week, adapted from Gordon McKeeman, returning us from where we began. Whenever there is a meeting that summons us to our better selves, wherever our lostness is found, our fragments are united. Our wounds begin healing, our spines stiffen, and our muscles grow strong for the task. There is ministry. Ministry is all that we do together. Amen.